Good afternoon. Welcome to the Meltdown. Folks, got to tell you, it's always interesting to be able to talk to different clients, different asset class, um, not the class of society. Because frankly, everybody is trying to figure out how to make a deal work, how to protect themselves, whether that's from economic turmoil, business growth. I got to tell you, I've got a couple of great ideas. If you're somebody who's willing to come sit, sign a non-disclosure agreement, I'd love to share some ideas with you. Ultimately, whether you've got $100, $1,000, or $5 or $10 million, there's opportunity everywhere. Being able to siphon your way through all of the sharks, I guess, is probably what it really boils down to. Anyway, depending on what your interest levels are, I think we've got something we can share with you, and it certainly makes sense. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about Ford Motor for a minute. 5,000 jobs are going to be added in the coming year, according to Ford, here in the United States. But at the same breath that I talk about the expansion of Ford here in the United States, last week we heard about how Ford is looking to grow over in China and overseas. However, today there's questions as to whether or not the system is going to really function at the level that Ford believes it will. I've mentioned JP Morgan Chase quite frequently, and after I got off air, Michael and I were chatting about it. With approximately $2.4 trillion under management, that's their asset value. Their liabilities, and I'm using round figures, run approximately 2.2 trillion. That puts about 200 billion in, quote, net worth, the final number, if you will. I referred to it as capital value, and we know that if those are the round figures, you need to consider the amount of leverage that JP Morgan is utilizing. If their balance sheet says they're only worth 200 billion net, but they're leveraging off of 2.4 trillion, how far is the leverage going to go? Are you talking about 10 to 1? 100 to 1? Heck, just their gold position is 50 to 1. And folks, those are huge numbers. This is the number one bank in the United States, and they're paying fines at record levels. You go to your Chase Bank, and you got to understand, this is really basic stuff. You have $100 in your checking account, and there's a gazillion of you with that kind of money. How about the people with 100,000? Or the CDs that are stashed at 250,000. All of those funds are digital funds. In other words, you can look online at what your share is. But if everybody showed up at the bank tomorrow trying to get, quote, dollars, A, the bank doesn't have it. B, the Federal Reserve doesn't have it. And you can place your order with the Fed. We have a Federal Reserve Bank here in Houston. They're off of Allen Parkway. And the building is big enough that if expansion had continued to grow here in the Houston market, they could probably handle 5 or 10 times the volume that they do. The bottom line is that banks are charging to process your money. If you show up with $5,000 or $10,000 in face value coins, your bank is going to charge you approximately 3% to spin the coins in the machine. That's assuming that they still have the machine. They may ask you to roll the coins, and people have put slugs in coin rolls for years. I know, because that's part of the business that we do. We get to open those rolls, and we look at what's going on. All I'm really trying to explain to you and tell you is that the banking system is leveraged up to the hilt. And on a day like today, where I can see the price of gold drop approximately $26, that's 2% of its value. Silver dropped almost 4% of its value, lost almost 80 cents. Platinum and palladium were down a little bit. I look over at the stock market and I realize that the stock market lost 100 points. Right now at about 104 points, to be honest, almost 0.75%. The yield on the 10-year Treasury, That's rising. That means interest rates are going up. That means the expansion of this country is starting to be questioned. Price of oil stayed pretty much the same, but folks, things keep changing. Now, one of the people who I really like to listen to is Jim Rogers. When Jim Rogers starts to talk, people listen all over the world. He has that kind of an impact. Jim Rogers, who believes the price of gold should be $3,000 to $5,000 in the next 2 to 3 years, maybe it'll be 5 years, believes that silver is the place to be investing. Now, I know I've been a silver bug for a little while now. I guess I'm probably pushing about a year. But if you don't know how to do all of the due diligence that's necessary to research gold, silver's an easy play. Gold has got about 30% upside to get to where it's been, and then you still got a little bit more room, so maybe you're talking 40%. But in the case of silver, where the high was almost $50 an ounce, that literally means the upside is well over 100%. The play is there, and silver is an industrial metal, where gold is more of a monetary commodity. Yes, central bankers hold it. There's not a whole lot of activity where gold has to be used to make different types of parts. Gold-plated maybe. But ultimately, my concern as we move forward is how big the play is, how big the return can be in the silver market versus the gold market. Now, this is simple, and it's going to sound like I'm talking down to people, and I don't want anyone to feel that. What I want to be able to explain is whether you've got homeowners insurance, car insurance, life insurance, health insurance, this is good wealth protection. At these levels, I can tell you that while some wonder what the downside really is, how low could gold go? I've heard the guys tell me $600 to $700, $800. I've heard those stories. I've read them. I've got clients that read them and send them to me. The upside, 6,000, 10,000. It'll be a new high when it gets there. There's no doubt about that. $1,924. I had a client tell me was back in January of this year. It's not possible. Not possible. A Krugerrand is not worth that kind of money. Period. Ultimately, a Krugerrand, if you walk into any dealer on any given day, a Krugerrand is going to bid. Its wholesale value is about 98% of spot. And considering that they're cheaper than 1 ounce gold eagles, the premium is nice and tight. You're not going to talk about a huge profit made unless you're buying millions of them. My point is that when you look at precious metals, and I talk about doing it in the forms of a third, a third, and a third. I'm talking about doing things in such a fashion that you can hedge your bet, that you can take advantage of markets and understand that there are things that go up faster than gold. There are things that go up faster than silver. Now, I had a gentleman in the store maybe an hour or so ago, and when this client was in here, we started to have a debate. It kind of got a little bit frustrating. I've done this for almost 30 years now, and this gentleman's been buying gold for maybe 5 or 10. But ultimately, the purity of a Krugerrand is 22 karat. It is the same purity as a 1 ounce gold American Eagle, which is the same purity of every U.S. minted gold coin between the years of 1795 and 2005. In 2006, the U.S. Mint entered the market with a 24 karat gold coin called the Buffalo. And in 2008, the U.S. Mint decided to make fractional Buffaloes. It was a limited production, and a fractional Buffalo literally sells for a huge premium. Those sets will command over $7,000. Dealer to dealer, you'll pay probably $7,500. If you get the coins graded, you can see prices online from $10,000 to $12,000 to $15,000 or more. My point in discussing gold coins is that they are a safe haven when there is economic turmoil in the world. And folks, we've got economic turmoil. Jim Rogers is somebody who has been a gold bug for many years. But right now, he's eyeballing silver at a different level than he ever has. I'm looking at the jobless benefits are going to be shot to 1.3 million people. The tapering is back on the table by people who want to throw major confusion into the mix. There is absolutely zero chance, in my opinion, that we'll see any tapering at the January meeting. I don't think it'll be at the February meeting. Janet Yellen will be confirmed, and she will be Ben Bernanke's successor. And she's talking about needing to keep the hammer down and continue quantitative easing. It doesn't work. It is created economic risk that affects our economy to the tune of somewhere between $1 trillion and $2 trillion. And that's on top of all of the other confusion that's out there, from the sequester to quantitative easing to mismanagement to fraud. The 5-year anniversary of Bernie Madoff is met by JP Morgan with a fine of $2 billion. And I mentioned that earlier in the show. And so the relevant point to what I'm saying is that items that are rare are more in demand today than they ever have been. And you can pick and choose and stay in the cheapest product that you can get yourself involved in. That's a simple scenario and something easy to do. But from my perspective, I can tell you that as buildings go vacant and businesses are slowing down or losing business, this is the holiday season. This is not the time of the year where you want to see the brakes hit. And if interest rates start to climb, that's a problem. If money doesn't flow, a bigger problem. And the banks are starting to look at credit with a different ire, if you will, than they've ever looked. So I consider China to be a force to be reckoned with. The east coast of China, that's very developed, is very well educated. Go into the middle portions of the country where technology isn't quite at the same level, the people aren't educated the same way. So my point is that you've got an emerging China and you've got a very developed China. And China, from the government standpoint, is still accumulating gold as it's getting out of other currencies. China wants to be the world reserve currency. There's no doubt about it. And to get themselves into that position, you have to watch all of the chaos around the world. And there's plenty of it. The biggest problems are when you look at expansion, infrastructure, some of the things that Michael talked about a couple of weeks ago on his podcast when he was filling in for me. It's all about companies. It's all about individuals. It's all about the almighty dollar. For those of us that are just in the middle class struggling to try to stay alive and survive this. Now, I got to tell you that there's a lot of different coins out there. There are clients that love new coins every bit as much as there are clients that love old coins. In new coins, people want coins, they're graded in 70 condition. That's the perfect grade, the Sheldon scale. Now, I can tell you that NGC is about to open an office over in Shanghai. The Sheldon scale is going to be utilized in the grading of coins. And that is going to continue to build the international flavor for numismatic coins of all types. I look at the problems in the economy, and those things all dictate how we progress and how we proceed. The Dow isn't going to collapse tomorrow. It's going to take time. It always does. It will find a bottom. And once it finds the bottom, it will start to elevate and come to a new top. Things change. And you can't tell me that you can look into the crystal ball and tell me what's going to happen a week from now, a month from now, or a year from now. Because we're in an area that we've never been in. I can tell you the glut of coins that are on the market could go away with the purchase of $100 or $200 million. It seems like a lot, and if the money was in your own checkbook, it would be a lot. But considering there's a bank out on the northeast, up in the northeast portion of the country, our country, that claims that it's managing 20% of the world's assets, that's a huge number. I want to be smarter than everybody else. I want to protect myself in a way that most people don't seek protection. I want to come up with ideas like most young people do, something that nobody else has done. And ultimately, I want to be able to fund it, take care of my family, take care of my son, and move on. Being smarter than everybody else is not just a cliche. I've got friends that manage their own portfolios, we'll say in the neighborhood of $1 million. And it's a great recovery from where we were 5 years ago, 4 years ago. But it can all be blown away in a matter of moments. And so this is about wealth protection. I like rare coins. So many people come in here and explain to me why a 1-ounce Krugerrand or a Maple Leaf or a bar is such a better play than to own a $20 gold piece. Folks, an 1856 New Orleans $20 gold piece is one of less than 2,300 coins ever graded. The finest known specimen is a specimen 63. I remember when it transacted for $500,000. I remember when it was bought at auction for $300,000. I know that it transacted a couple of years ago for in excess of $1.4 million. I remember the finest known 1854 New Orleans minted $20 gold piece was $100,000. And today, if you want to own the finest known specimen, you'll pay nearly $1 million for it. More coins have been discovered than what I knew of back in 1999 when my client and I transacted the finest known coin. There's more of them today. They trade for 8 times more money. Demand outpaces supply. That's where you get into the proper formula of making money. So if you tell me, Brett, I want to buy a whole bunch of circulated Morgan silver dollars and I want to pay in the neighborhood of $30 to $40 for them, that's great. I'll sell them to you. I won't make a lot of money doing it, but you know what? I'm okay with the transaction. If you're going to come in and talk to me and you want to save $1 or $2 on a gold coin, whether that's a gold American Eagle, a Maple Leaf, a Krugerrand, a bar, I'm going to tell you to go do business with the other guy because I don't want the business that bad. Guy's entitled to make a couple of bucks. If he's willing to work that cheap, you should do business with him. I had a gentleman tell me this afternoon that he found somebody that was willing to work on a commission of about 1.5%. I told him he ought to go do business with the guy. If he was happy with him and he had the coins there, do business. Don't shop him. Acknowledge that it's a good deal and go get it. That's how you earn your credibility. And so for me, I'm looking at coins, I'm looking at items that you diversify into your portfolio so that you build value, you preserve wealth. It isn't always about how much money the dealer can make. It's about bringing good information to you. So when I look at what's happening in the world and people have more concerns over how they're going to protect their computers than how they're going to protect their wealth, that's a problem for me. I'm more interested in protecting my clients and their wealth than I am about protecting the computer. Yeah, you've got to protect your personal data. There's no doubt about that. But the bottom line is the amount of things that have to take place in order for us to get ahead. And so what I mean by that is it takes 500 pages to fill out a proper mortgage application, and realizing that because of new regulations, it's probably going to slow down the housing market. Community banks, because of Dodd-Frank, and the addition of the Volcker rule are going to have teams of attorneys to be able to go through the 12,000 pages that make up the legislation. Now, look at a JP Morgan Chase, they got a big staff. They can handle all that. Look at your local bank, they can't. It will break them up. It will force them to go out of business. JP Morgan Chase is functioning on a $200 billion net worth after you deduct their liabilities from their assets. That leverage is huge. They're into hundreds of trillions of dollars of transactions. Everything from cars to homes to credit lines, you name it. I actually had a banker, a couple of them, tell me that they won't use gold as an asset because they don't have a way to store it. They don't have a way to account for it. They'd rather hold real estate. So for those of you that are trying to figure out what to do next, all I'm telling you is that there are different attitudes and different ways of looking at different forms of assets. And deceit's all over the place. I love the ones that will tell you one thing and then they forgot what they told you, and so they'll make up another story, and of course after that they'll make up another story. Truth of the matter is, the truth is the truth. Unfortunately, in some people's case, perception is reality. It's a debate I've argued for years, but I actually do understand it now. When I look at the market and I look at where we're headed and why we're headed in those directions, I want to be able to bring clear, concise, and logical information to people. You need to understand, though, that there are coins that trade for tens of thousands of dollars. A rare 1916 over 16, called an overdate, Buffalo Head nickel in mint state 65, so probably the finest one known to exist. Amazing looking toning, is a coin that sells for 100 grand. And whether you look at coins that are 50,000, 100,000, 10,000, you wonder whether or not you're getting a good deal when you're paying 6% over spot. And like I said, for a half a percentage point, $6 or $7 an ounce, I don't want to shop that transaction. My time and my money and my energy is worth more than that. My credibility is worth more than that. And although we stumble at times, don't judge the whole package because one flake didn't taste right. The time to put rare coins in a portfolio is now. And the reason I'm telling you that is that I can tell you over the next 2 to 5 years, things will get worse in this country for more people than will get better. 1% of the population controls 20% of the wealth. Yes, if you've got the right idea, you may be at the precipice of breaking out and making a lot of money. Unfortunately, the money itself is going to lose value. So you're out playing the lottery, or you're out playing, betting the line over your favorite basketball team, football team, baseball team. Heck, I know guys that'll even bet college rugby. You take a portion of your portfolio and you decide whether that's 5 or 10 percentage points. And based on the 5 to 10%, you say, Brett, this is what I got to work with. And I want to do it 40% in rare, 40% in mid-range, and 20% in the cheapest stuff, or you mix it up any way you want to do it. And I'll be more than happy to build a portfolio for you. I love rare coins, but it's not because I love them. It's because the country loves them. Michael and I were having a conversation about the state quarters, and that led into a conversation about national parks, and that conversation led into the territories. And what I'm going to tell you is that currently on the page are 56 of the 59 national parks. Thank you, Michael. And there are tons of them that are produced. Lots of coins. The Virgin Islands territory quarter is the one that's the most valuable. By the roll. Original rolls, not scuffed up, scratched, circulated material. They command the biggest premium. And what once was a premium in the first year of their production is no longer. Proof coins are the exception. We're not talking about proofs. We're talking about regular business strikes. If you're looking to build a portfolio of coins, I'll be more than happy to be price shopped. I'll be more than happy to give you reasons to look at other types of coins, but I'm interested in coins that have fundamental reasons to appreciate in value. And that can be everything from the look of the coin, the strike of the coin, the important factors that somebody who's got 25 or 30 years of experience will beat out the guy who's got a year or 6 months or even less. And I don't want to hear that you're focused in one or two areas of a market that's got 9,000 different coins. No, I don't know everything about all of them, but I know how to shop a good deal. I know the quality and what I'm looking for in comparison to what the graders are looking for. I can look at the population and the history and the data of those coins. And all of those factors are what brings us together in such a fashion that we can build a portfolio of things that make sense down the road. Because it's not that the sky is falling today, it's that there is a clear path to destruction. And quantitative easing has done that. Politicians not telling the truth has led to that. I'm talking about Greece lying to the European Union and cooking the books and getting accepted into the EU to be a portion of the euro and destroying their own economy in the same breath. No, it took a few years to catch them, but they caught them. And so, folks, that's what the message is. Rare coins have a value. And those values are stipulated in a number of guides, a number of auctions. We do the research. We'll bring to you the fundamental reasons why you should own certain types of material, and that's what you should own. And I got a client, his name is Jeff, and Jeff has been a real good student. Unfortunately, he overeducated himself. And at the time that I talked to Jeff, I sold him 1991 $25 gold American Eagles. And he thought he was getting ripped off because he paid between $2,700 and $3,000 per coin for mint state 67, 68, and 69 graded coins. You can't find a mint state 70. It doesn't exist. If you can find one, and there are a few that have been graded, you'll pay $7,000 to $10,000 for it minimum. Jeff looked up the proof coins and discovered that a proof coin sold for a fraction of what the mint state coin did. After I laid that out and explained it to him 2 or 3 times, I haven't heard from Jeff again. It's unfortunate. He had $80,000 to start with and probably another $500,000 that he could have spent behind it. But because he got so confused over a nice, clean description, he decided to get into the market where it was the most volatile. Haven't heard from Jeff. Not sure what he chose to do. It's okay with me. The information that he got to make a really sound decision will pan out a year from now, 2 years, 10 years from now. And if he passes these coins on to his heirs, he'll do even better. Folks, if you've got questions about coins, you can always register at Ustream, and you can chat with me live while I'm doing a live podcast. You can email me questions anytime. That's Brett, B-R-E-T-T, at thegoldexchange.net. If you want to call and talk, 281-548-2646. That's 281-548-2646. Hit option 0 or visit themeltdown.com. The phone numbers are there. The contact information is there. I love to answer questions. I love to assist you in making a really good decision. Anyway, I don't ever get off air without thanking Texas Children's Hospital, both the Downs Clinic and the Ronald McDonald House. Now, my son Jason has mild Downs, so the Downs Clinic, the Meyer Center, has a very special place in my heart. Dr. Ostermeyer and her staff deal with many disabilities. No longer inside of Texas Children's Hospital. It's a little bit south of Fannin now. You can contact through themeltdown.com the donation link to the Meyer Center. Click on it, provide the information, name, address, city, state, zip, and phone number. You'll get a receipt for your contribution. Ultimately, the information is anonymous for me. Now, the Ronald McDonald House also matters to me, and there are 2 facilities here in Houston. One outside of the hospital is a 50-room hotel, motel, so to speak, for families that need assistance. But at Texas Children's, it's on the 4th floor, and there are 20 rooms, housing between 40 and 60 people a night. Those people are supported through the Ronald McDonald House with food and coffee and other refreshments, but they visit their children at all hours of the day and night. I've been there. They took very good care of my wife and I at the time. They matter to me. If you can provide a hot meal on any night for 40 to 60 people through a kitchen, however you can arrange it with the people in the Ronald McDonald House, please call 832-824-8600. That's 832-824-8600. Nancy Allen and her staff would be more than happy to assist you and accommodate you. Now, folks, we'll be back tomorrow. It'll be about 9:30. If you have any questions, I've given you contact information. Go to our links section. There's more information about more different types of material. Love the opportunity to assist you. Folks, this is the time where you really need to sharpen your pencil and take a different attitude and a different approach to your assets. I appreciate you listening in. Have a great day. God bless you and stay warm out there.